Welcome to episode 24, 100 Years of Marine Corps Tankers, a station dedicated to honoring the legacy of Marine tankers and remembering the stories of what made the community special told through those Marines that towed the line. This episode is going off script. This is going to be a really good time because I got three guests with me today that are all kind of intertwined and have a very illustrious background. And really where their paths crossed the most was during Operation Phantom Fury. And with a special request from Master Sergeant Joe Estep, this interview will be done with two of his platoon crew members for Operation Phantom Fury. These Marines represent the many Marines that were vital to the success of the tank battalions, kind of the heroes behind the cloth there sometimes. Welcome to the channel. That's where you guys say something.
Hi, everybody.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for being on. Hey Tom, please, I'd like to pass the floor over to you and kind of set the stage for us.
Just real quick, I'll be pretty brief with this. I gave Vlasic some guys in here when he first put this channel together, and I'll be honest with you, when I first started watching it or I heard it was coming out, I was like, nah, I don't think so. I don't need anybody in here trying to make himself look like a superstar or a legend on screen. But I got to watching some of them, and I was like, you know what, this guy's doing something really, really special here, really special. And I got to kind of text him back and forth between a couple other people, and then I started throwing them a couple names, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna throw my wingman under the bus, old Gant. I think he was episode 14. And I'm like, no better person to throw under the bus than Gant. Let's get him out and get some bus tracks on his back. But as he went through the interview and did everything, it got me thinking, and watching a couple more people. It's like, so some guys, everybody has a message, but not everybody gets a chance to spin that message. And kind of what I wanted, kind of like I envisioned for today would be, get these four outstanding Marines on here, being loaders in the biggest battle, anybody's seen quite some time. But these are two of the four outstanding loaders that I had, and I think they will tell a great story and get a lot of different aspects, because I know Trask being on at the time Lieutenant Klingesmith's tank, and poor Sok being on my tank, kind of the bad ends of each spear, always not having that fourth crewman on there, and then always having either the grumpy guy or always the guy that's going to get you an extra sugar daddy cake.
So top Estep, but yeah, thank you very much for the work that you've done kind of behind the scenes, linking me up with certainly the folks that from that deployment. It's been really helpful, and super excited to have these two warriors on here. I'm gonna start with you, Chanda. So I got here that you graduated boot camp from Parris Island, obviously East Coast Marine in 2003, and then you graduated tank school in 2004. Tell me a little bit about why you wanted to become a Marine and kind of what led up to that path.
So I come from like a very long line of men in the military. My parents immigrated from Cambodia to here when they were escaping the killing fields in Cambodia. So all my majority of my uncles, my grandfather, my father, they were all in the military, and they all fought against the insurgency, which was the Khmer Rouge at the time. So when we came to the States, 2001, 9/11 happened, and I don't know, I just felt like it was like the right thing to do for like my lineage, like my generation is like my turn to step up. It was funny though, because of I knew I had an uncle in my dad's brother in Oregon. He is 6 years younger than me, but he's my uncle. And he happened to join the Marine Corps as well. The reason why I joined the Marine Corps was because I wrestled in high school and all my coaches were Marines. So it was just a logical choice, because the way they ran wrestling was straight up boot camp, and they destroyed us. And I don't know, probably like the pain or something like that. It was just brutal, and I kind of liked it. I kind of gravitated towards their bravado, and I was like, you know what, I want to do that, because I was small, but it took a lot of punishment. So I weighed 112 coming out of high school. So that was 9/11 was one of the main reasons to do it, but it was also in my lineage to do it. So that's the reason why I joined the military, and choice for Marine Corps was due to my mentorship in high school through my coaches.
What about being a tanker? Did you know you wanted to be a tanker, or did you draw the lucky straw?
So basically what happened was that I also immigrated here as well. So I wasn't a US citizen at the time. I was a permanent resident. And in order to join, I initially chose infantry because I wanted first in. But you have to be a US citizen to join infantry. And I asked them, well, who's the second people in? Like, then there's like tanks already. I was like, tanks, sign me up. Sounds fun, whatever, throw it in there.
Hell yeah.
And so did not like, I looked at it, I was like, oh, seeing tank, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. But right after boot camp, straight into tank school in Fort Knox. And it was just like, all right, I'm going to live and die in this thing. All right, let's do this.
Nice. So John Trask, I got your story kind of coming out of high school in 2002. You were a West Coast Marine, graduated from San Diego. And in your notes here, I like your note. It says wanted to be a heavy equipment operator. So went after the job you could get, and you got heavy equipment. All right. It says obviously you drew tanks. So what's your background kind of leading up to this point?
Yeah, family had a long history of military. Dad was 11th Armored Cav in Vietnam. Granddad was Navy during World War II. I had a cousin in the Air Force, so I said, screw them all. I'll take the cake. I'll be the miserable one in the family. Joined right out of high school. Looking for the future. Figured it's a dang good way to start. Being from Michigan, I got sent over West Coast. Got to request East Coast when I got told I was going to be in tanks. I actually got to make a request. I got it granted. Ended up in 2nd Tank Battalion in Campus View, North Carolina. And then that's where home was for 4 years, with the exception of wherever the hell several individuals dragged us.
Absolutely. One of those individuals, obviously, Joey E. So, hey, Top, what's your early thoughts of these two warriors when you kind of came across their paths?
Well, it's pretty weird because like when I came from Fort Knox, the company had just came back, and obviously from OIF1, and obviously every one of them was badasses. So immediately we knew we was gonna redeploy back again. But that was like one of the things that, I don't know, just to me is like I don't like picking up other people's bad habits. So I told football head, I'm like, hey, well, that's Lieutenant Klinkensmith. Was like, hey, how about we just take scratch zero and just take all new guys? Take all new guys, take a little experience, and if they're going to learn something bad, obviously if me and you fuck it up, all of them's going to fuck it up anyways. So why don't we just get all new people? And that's almost what we did, with the exception of, I think we got Higgs and Taylor and Gant. I knew Gant from tank school reservist, and I knew him through a couple other people. But then, grabbed Trask, got Sok, Freelib, Hal, freaking all the rest of these weirdos right out of school. They didn't have any bad habits, didn't have anything. And that's kind of like when we first started meshing. It was like, we didn't even have tank crews. We just started throwing people all over tanks. So we had 4 tanks, and it's like, hey, go over here and freaking drive for this guy. Hey, go load for this guy. Hey, go grab some shit off his vehicle. Well, it ain't my vehicle. I don't give a shit. Go grab it anyway. That's kind of like where we meshed, and none of them complained. That was the whole, well, at least not to me, but none of them complained. They just said, okay, that's the right way to do business. Let's go about doing our business. And we all kept it as a straight business profession. Everybody kind of, I won't say knew their place, but everybody kind of knew at the same time, okay, well, this is how I'm going to learn. This is what I'm going to do. Let's keep it on this path. Don't go against the grain. If you go against the grain, somebody's always going to come get you in here in a little bit, and you're probably not going to like it.
So obviously, you as a gunny, you kind of had an idea, especially with 2002, stretching in 2003, where you were likely we're going to end up and where you guys were going to be going. What about you two gentlemen? Did you guys have a full kind of grasp as to what was on your future? I mean, obviously it's post 9/11, so we knew that there was an enemy out there. We knew as Marines we were going out to do something. But I mean, your early onset with Alpha, did you guys kind of know that, hey, this is it, this is the real deal?
So right before I graduated tank school, about 3 to 4 weeks before we graduated, a lot of the instructors were talking is like, you guys are going to be in like the fiercest fighting, like going into the fleet. You guys, they were giving talk. They were just letting us know that, you guys get ready because it's going to happen fast. And that we were just lost in the woods already. We were just, green as green could be. And we was like, you're going to hit the floor running when you hit the fleet. And that was exactly what happened when we got into the fleet, straight into gunnery within, I think it was like 2 to 3 weeks. Like we really, like, it was just op after op. It was deployment training right when we walked in, and it was just hit the ground running and just going. Like we were brand new. We were already scared of the fleet. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know, we just didn't know. I personally didn't know what we did, but a lot of the guys I went to school with happened to be in the platoon, like Whitfield and Walls and all of them. So it was kind of comfort that we were all struggling it together. So that's why, we really didn't complain, because we were just getting thrashed the entire way. So it was just one of those things that, like, we didn't really realize how dangerous it was. We were just training. It was just training us. So it was just one of those things. Like, we didn't have time to worry.
So you were a loader from day one, right?
Yes, I was a loader from day one. Yes.
And John, you were a driver.
Yeah, I started out as a driver for a while.
Did you have a pretty good impression or at least a perspective as to what the future might hold for you guys?
No, I mean, right out of school, I mean, they told us, is like, you guys are probably going to deploy and all that. And when I got to the fleet, like I said, it was a skeleton crew. I mean, there was probably less than 100 people at second tanks. And it was just, it was all the broke down equipment, and that's all we had there for a while. And we kind of put together the people we had, and they're like, well, you guys are going to go on float. You need to start getting your tanks ready. So that's what we did while the battalion was gone. When the battalion came back, it all changed. Like Top had said, that when they came back, the decision was made, there's going to be a rotation, and tanks were going to play an active role in this conflict. And so, no, I mean, going into it, didn't have a clue other than, hey, I'm on a tank, I'm going to stay in my tank.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of how it went. So yeah, it was different for that. Yeah.
So Top, you already said that you consciously drew, essentially greenhorns, guys coming out of the school that you could easily mold. And what was your training plan? Did you do things a little bit different, knowing that that's kind of what you had as far as the Marines, that you didn't have that much experience, but therefore you had the opportunity to kind of mold them? Did you guys treat it differently, or did you just kind of run with the same training plan?
No, because initially we started doing a lot of mount training, like we was going to do gun truck shit, and it didn't matter what we was doing. I'll just be honest with you. Between me, Gant, and we just equally beat the shit out of all of them. And I say that in equal kill, just because it wasn't, anything like egregious. Jesus, they're both still breathing, for Christ's sake. But no, we took it on a mindset of, okay, it doesn't matter what we're doing. Doesn't matter if we're in a tank, doesn't matter if we're in a Humvee, doesn't matter if we're walking, doesn't matter if we're riding. Okay, same principles. If we all get down to the same basic mindset, even if we all fuck up, as long as we're all going in the same direction, we're all going to fuck up in the same direction. At least we'll be together, kind of deal. And we did have we didn't have the best. I mean, we did have the best platoon, but we didn't have all the best people. But we just kind of knew how to cover up, I won't say our weaknesses, but we kind of knew that, okay, we gotta lean on this guy a little bit harder, or we gotta shift this way, or hey, look, this guy, needs to have a little special time to himself. So we kind of knew that, but you know, as far as like the training and workup, I mean, we did mostly gun truck stuff, but when it came down that we was getting ready, knew we was going to go on tanks, we switched back to that pretty quick. And
Gotcha.
even guys were pretty green and pretty young, they picked up on it. They picked up on it fast. And they picked up on it fast, like I said, because we had a good spread of, okay, only a couple of us kind of know what the hell we're doing. And the other guys don't kind of know what they're doing as much, but we'll all figure it out. We'll all mesh together here, which meshed out pretty good.
So after Todd beat you guys up, and you know, obviously proud members of Alpha Company, 2nd Tank Battalion, you know, knowing now you're going out on tanks, and that deployment. So talk me through kind of that deployment, that mindset. Obviously, you know, I mean, most of the people watching this channel have either been deployed or, you know someone who's been deployed. But, you know, what about that particular deployment? What are some early kind of memories from that?
Yeah. So the deployment, and like I said in that bio, I kind of laughed because my 21st birthday, I get advanced party. Like, hey, you're going to leave advanced party with this group of Marines. You're like, oh, okay. Fly into Shannon International Airport, where the legal drinking age is a little less than what I was at the time. You know, so you roll the punches on this, and you drop into Kuwait. From Kuwait, you go up into Iraq, and then you get to where you're going, and you take the daily beating that we received there in Camp Fallujah. And you know, we had it a lot nicer than some of the guys before us because the camp continued to grow. It continued to upgrade throughout the deployment and on. As far as I know, the guys that went back after we initially did, they had even better camp. Mm-hmm. You know, and in that deployment, you at one point in time, they took the leashes off us and they let tanks be tanks. They let us do our job. They let us do what we had to do to protect our brothers and sisters. And then, you know, you roll through a city like Fallujah front to back. You live in the city, you live with your Marines, you know, your fellow Marines in the city, and you did what you had to do to keep everybody alive and bring everybody home. I know Gant in the previous previous video had talked about SLU, and we were fortunate enough that SLU was our only major injury that our group, that Alpha Company, took in Fallujah. So we were all thankful for that. And then after that initial push, they started, you know, they started clamping back down on us, you know, mm-hmm. slowing us down a little bit. And I had to laugh. I put that there in that bio, and I had to laugh. I remember we were going out on QRF the one time, and I don't know, I can't remember if it was a gunnery sergeant or what he was, but you can tell he had gotten in some deep trouble with somebody because they put this guy in a police truck and had him patrolling the streets on base. And the guy drives out in front of 2 tanks doing 30 miles an hour, blocks the road. And, you know, and Lieutenant Klingsmith just goes off on this guy. And we were told next time he did it, don't stop. Go around him, clip him, do whatever you had to do. Make sure he knows not to get in the way of a moving tank when we're rolling out of the gates. Never seen the guy again. Never had a problem with him. And it was the little things like that I remember that made it all worthwhile with all the other stuff that we had to do and all the bouncing around and some of the things we did. But, you know, I'm proud of what we did. I'm proud that we brought everybody home with, you know, exception of a few minor injuries and, you know, Top and at the time Gunny Estep and Lieutenant Klingsmith and Sergeant Gand at the time. You know, they taught us a lot, and they got us through any way they had to. They got us through what we did. If it was taking us out back behind the tank, that's what we did. If it was
I didn't do that.
Yeah, well,
hey, I think we're outside of the limitations there. I think we're good, Top. Your secret's out now, brother.
Yeah, you know, I never got taken out back. Nobody wanted to play with the big guy in the platoon, so I just got, the occasional ass chewing, but that was okay. But no, and I mean, we can go on for days about what we did, but ultimately we did what tanks were supposed to do. We rolled up, we blew shit up. We, brought the guys stuff if they needed it. We took out things that we needed to take out.
I'm gonna pass the mic to Chanda here, but we're gonna circle
ahead.
back on some of that doing tank stuff because I'm not gonna let you off the hook that good. I know there's some awesome stories for out there, but I'll give you a moment to kind of collect your thoughts here while we go over to Chanda. What are some of your early thoughts of that the beginning of that deployment?
Well, one, I was very, very scared. I was in boot camp at 17. I just turned 18. I was about to turn 18 right before we left. And it was just one of those whirlwind things where like it was like, hey, this is like you kind of everybody had to make their own peace before you deploy. Everybody does that before they step off, CONUS. And it was just one of those things that like, you know what, like this is all we got. Like, the guys in the platoon, this is like we went through hell together for deployment training. So like, I already felt that bond because half of them I went to tank school with, and the other quarter was just the class before us, like free lib and all them. And so like it was comfortable. Like I was comfortable where I was because like I respected the guys that I was with. Gant really put his boot into us, and like I respected the way he mentored. He was a hands-on corporal, so like I love that aspect of it. I was the smallest, like one of the smallest guys in the platoon, so like I was getting pushed by everybody. Like Hal choked me out all the time, like like backyard trash, just manhandling the take, and like I'm here struggling just to tighten up an end sprocket, just things like that, end connectors and stuff like that. Like mission after mission, it was just one of those things that like you just got more and more confident as you gone along. Like the fear started to subside, and you just knew what you had to do. Like, I remember doing tons and tons of feints before we go to Fallujah, like just patrolling, Route Michigan, just checking the supply lines, going back and forth for Abu Ghraib, just things like that. Just taking it in, like, stick my head out, just watch, just letting the desert heat smack you in the face. Like, it was just one of those things that like, you were feared. Like every time we rolled down, you were just feared, even feared by the Army guys, like the Marines that we were escorting, things like that. It was just like an aura of just like, we just felt like we were hot shit. We were all young, we were all cocky, we were just all like hot shit. And, internally you were like, please just don't die today. please just don't do anything stupid today. Like, just learning as you go, because we were still doing it. We were just six months in the fleet. We're already in Iraq. So it was just learning as we go, like learning to do things the right way, learning to do things the combat right way, learning, just making sure you got your plans down, your contingency plans. Like, know my stuff as a loader. I didn't like, I'm the one that have to dismount if anything happens. Like, I want to know my shit. And Gant drilled that into us. He was in our section and he just drilled it. Towing, like we did tow drills, dry tow drills. Came up with new SOPs where attaching tow bars to the front of the tanks. It was just weird shit that like we were like, all right, if it works, it works, just one of those things,
right.
And just knowing where all your stuff is. I just try to remember everything and just try to do it just for my little section. Like just me, just making sure I was like okay with everything. I didn't want to be the reason I fucked up and somebody got hurt. So it was just one of those things because you're so young and just having the nerves to just even get out, you just never know. You just hear, just one of those things, just unknown. That's how it was. It was just head on a swivel 24/7. Don't get complacent. Just do your job. It's pretty much what it is. That's what, like, what I did. That's how I got through it.
I think you just captured one of the most important essences, that this channel has been trying to bring out, what it means to be a tanker. And, I've gotten asked the question in multiple different venues of, what's it like to go to war? What's it like to be in combat? Whatever, and it's a hard question to answer, but I think you just summed it up pretty damn good, because as a tanker, we train so hard for so long. And that opportunity to actually be in that tank, rolling down that MSR, rolling down that road, doing what we do in combat when it's for real now, it feels right. There's just something right about it. There's just something that makes it feel right because we're doing our damn job. And that's why, that's why we work as hard as we work. Hey, Top, over to you for a second. So how long were you guys in theater before, Operation Phantom actually kicked off?
It was about, probably about 40 days, about 45 days. We had done, some bullshit, for about 20 days, got it kind of acclimatized, got kind of like, how it was set up. Then all of a sudden, then they're like, hey, game time. Then
Right.
started running a lot of nighttime missions. And it's funny because, like one of the things, like I was saying in training, we threw a lot of tank crews together. The only tank crew that didn't get changed up was one. Now, it's only if that one person wanted somebody else from somebody else's crew.
Mhm.
So, so here we are, throwing people around, tank crews, this and that. So we're out maneuvering around, working, doing this and that. Then all of a sudden, here we go. We're into a full scale, fight. I mean, it was ridiculous, ridiculous. I think, I think when we hit LD at, 2 a.m, on that day, I don't think that some of us slept till 5 days later.
Wow.
Eating granola bars and, finding what you could snack on. And then all you had time for was to, go back, refit, re-ammo, and do whatever. I mean, like, somebody commented, when SLU got cracked, SLU's in the gunner's hole. Of all freaking people to get hit, how in the hell does a gunner get freaking shot in the leg inside the gunner's hole?
Yeah.
Well, that turned like a big mix of events up for us. It did, because, already we had problems. I won't say problems, but we already had problems with one of our drivers. So, I'm going to take my driver, who was the freaking best driver in damn Marine Corps walls, and I'm going to give him to my wingman. Now all of a sudden my wingman freaking gunner gets cracked. Now all of a sudden I got to give up my freaking gunner over to my wingman. Now all of a sudden Gant, who's got, he went from freaking being the damn Atlanta Falcons to the Pittsburgh Steelers and draft picks, and got the all-star freaking crew. And but it didn't matter. It didn't. To me, it didn't, because it was like, you know what? I don't give a shit if, one of my kids is going to be my new loader. All I got to do is teach them the way and show them the way we do shit, and they'll take care of each other. That's what we did. Yeah, it did suck, because a lot of times the infantry did take advantage of us, and me and Football Head was kind of naive to that at first, because these guys, when they'd say at 2 o'clock in the morning, hey, we're going to go firm, can you guys patrol for us? Oh yeah, sure, we're tanks, we can do whatever the hell. We'll be driving around for 4 hours and nobody doing shit. All of a sudden you're butt ass tired, and here they are waking up. Hey, let's go bust some more houses down. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Something's missing here. What do you, I didn't figure it out for like 5 days, and I'm like, oh, that's right. We don't have any sleep yet. Or wait a minute, we don't have that. Something doesn't feel right. But didn't matter. We kept going. We kept going. I mean, it's very, very tough. But again, it goes back into kind of what we did, prior to even coming over there, or prior to having the hands-on, hands-off effective leadership. I didn't, as long as Gant or Taylor didn't kill somebody, I don't care what they did. When it came to getting us ready to go, I didn't care what they did. As long as they came to me and told me everything that happened, what was going on, so that way I can reasonably make up some bullshit excuse why something happened, or take responsibility for it. Like, I knew what was going on. I'm like, okay, I'm fine. But that's kind of like, all of us did that, and we did that at all different levels, all the way down, and it meshed over to the point to where that's how we worked every day, routines on stuff. Again, poor Sock, he had to be my gunner, And, you know, I treated him when he was a loader, I treated him the same way when he was my gunner. Yeah, he was my loader yesterday, but, you know, 7 minutes later, now he's my gunner. Now he's my gunner. Hey, look, you know what the hell you're doing? You're in charge of shit. I'm off this bitch. You know what you're doing? Take over. But that's what you're supposed to do, or that's kind of how, like, when you train people, or when you get people to a certain point, if you keep holding their hand, you know, eventually they ain't gonna have any hands. Eventually they're gonna be like, hey, can you cradle me some more? And no, daddy don't cradle. You know what I mean?
Sure do. So John, we talked about the 5 days. So how was it being in that driver's hole during the actual push? When, I mean, I'm sure, you know, number one, tank driver, I think, is one of the most difficult jobs, you know, in the tank. I know people disagree with me, but I drove, and I will tell you that it's a hard job, and it's a hard job to stay awake. It's a hard job because you're limited visibility, and now you're doing this in constructed streets and combat environment. What was your secret for success staying down in that hole?
I was I actually, when we went on deployment, I was actually a loader. I started out on the tanks as a driver. Our driver Freelib was, I mean, he was awesome. He would have his DBE up and he'd be spotting targets while we're traversed over right or left looking down the hole. He'd be calling out targets in front of us. And he did an awesome job. I can't highlight the guy enough. I mean, honestly, I couldn't have done what he did. Me as a loader, I had nothing to look at in the tank. Hatch was closed. I had the lieutenant. I had my gunner. I sat there with my eyes closed half the time, waiting for that command of gunner target, and I'm arming the gun, throwing another one in.
Right.
So yeah, I actually did very, very little driving over there, thankfully, because I thought it was good, but man, our driver was awesome. I have to give him props. I really do.
All right, so I gave you a moment to think about it. Give me a story about something you remember from the actual push.
From the actual push, I remember, man, I remember mortars getting dropped on us. Like Chanda said, that those feints we did, they'd be dropping mortars on us on one side of the city all the time. When we did the actual push, we went on the opposite side of the city, and you know, we breached the the engineer shot the Miklik off, and we breached, and we were in there, and I remember we had an army unit that was parallel to us, and I remember them shooting at us.
Jesus,
They actually coaxed us, and it was funny. Yeah, same thing. It was, we got their loader off their tank, got their radio frequency, lieutenant chewed their ass, and it was. I watched another lieutenant in the military cowered away and kind of pout, like, "Oh man, I screwed up. I'm sorry," So as far as the initial push, other than just nonstop going, like Top said, 5 days, just the only time you left the city was fuel and ammo. And we burned through 30 something rounds in a couple of hours, running back 2 tanks at a time, 4 tanks at a time, rearm, come right back into it. And that's how it was for 2 weeks straight, I think it was.
Wow. So Chanda, you obviously, Top had mentioned that you were a gunner appointed billet in theater in combat. So you deploy as a loader, obviously as a loader, and in John's case as a driver, you're always training for that next level. But going from loader to gunner in theater during combat, especially during something like this, had to be pretty intense. So what are your thoughts, man? Were you excited for it, or were you like, holy cow, I can't believe I'm doing this?
So, pre-deployment training, cross-train. That was one of the biggest things that you always push is cross-train. And you're thinking like, that's worst case scenario. We're going to stick with our crew. It's not going to happen. And freak incident with Richard Slough. It was just weird. It was like surreal. I was like, they're like, all right, we're giving up our driver. Okay, Slough got hurt. Okay, we're giving up our DS. And then all of a sudden, you go. Gunny at the time goes, "All right, you're up." I'm like, "Up for what?" He's like, "Get in the hole." And so now it was, going, like switching billets, switching that hat on. Is like, all right, remember your stuff. Don't mess this up. Don't kill people. Like, be easy on the trigger. Like, let's like identify, the whole thing just ran through my head. It was such a blur. It was pretty much 24-hour ops. I became a traversing monster. Like, I did not stop. I was just scanning everything. And that was the one thing I did not stop doing, is scan, and it was just surreal. Like, like I couldn't, it's like you couldn't even think of the prestige of what just happened, like, it's the one things that like people dream of doing, and it just came onto my lap. And I didn't have time to enjoy it because it just, how hectic it was. It was like the most, like, I was just like, all right, am I gonna be able to do this? Am I gonna, like, you're put into a city where there's hostile, and your job is to kill and destroy. And coming from a Buddhist background and stuff like that, is just, hey, just do everything to protect the crew. Like, put everything aside. You just got to do what you got to do. And it was just one of those things. It was just so surreal. Like, I finally got to see the city inside. Like, the only time I saw the city was during the initial push at night. The one thing I always remember is popping up that hatch, hearing that, the go ahead right on the mission, and they asked tanks to just lob rounds into the city. And then just seeing all the tanks online and just shooting down. And it was just like I swear, it's just Independent Day, but at night, just lines of just tracers just going. And it was like one of the most surreal things. And I would never ever forget that. That was the coolest thing. And then we hatched up, and it was just loading, just round after round, getting the ammo, getting what everybody needed, making sure the radios were right, and just staying awake and staying alert, just ready to do whatever. I couldn't sleep. I survived on water and Skittles because the adrenaline was running so much, you just forget to eat. And then when it was time, like a little break it there and there, you're just popping Skittles. I didn't smoke, I didn't chew, so I needed a mechanism to stay awake, and it was sugar. So I wasn't even old enough to drink at the time, so I would just pop like mouthful of Skittles and just sucking on it until you stayed awake. And a funny story about that was when we finally got a chance to re-ammo up back at the supply dump, going back into the ammo dump, like the first thing I see is like, First Sergeant Bryant Young just marching across the ammo dump, and he just took a dump right out in the open into an ammo can. And I just looked at him and I was like, this is not happening right now. He's the hardest dude I know right now. Like, even like just to think that like that's embarrassing while we're just killing and rampaging a city right next door. You see First Sergeant Young just taking a dump right there, just no care in the world. And I'm like, that's old school, right? That's so old school. Yep. It was just one of those things. Like I was so nervous to mess up, so young. Like, combat replaced like literally battlefield promotion to a different bill. It's just how often does that happen? It's just one of those, like, especially for tanks, it's just one of those weird, looking back on it now, like, I just figured just do the best I could. Like I was afraid to mess up. I was afraid that I would do something that would get somebody in trouble. I was afraid that I did something, I didn't shoot fast enough. I didn't see that target. We ran over that IED, like things like that. Things you were so alert, and I lost. It was just a daze because you were just so worried, the adrenaline rushing. I didn't realize like how crazy it was until you see it from different aspects. Like, when Gant explained it, like when you see documentaries of Fallujah, like it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that building. I was like, oh yeah, but like seeing it from the outside, like how tanks were talked about, like what they did for the the infantry units that we were supporting, and it was like I remember doing all that, but like for some reason it kind of went over my head because you were just so zoned in, like you knew what you had to do, like go get it, and that's I don't even know how I survived. Like Gunny said, no sleep. Like even if it wasn't my fire, like if it wasn't my fire watch, like at night when we went firm, I didn't sleep. Like if Lofton had fire watch in the hall, I did not sleep. I'm like banging on it. He's like, you better be awake. You better be awake. Like things like that. Like it was just this responsibility on like literally an 18-year-old. Just, in charge of people's lives, taking people's lives. It's just one of those things that like, how do you measure that? Like, how do you walk away from that? just one of those things.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I mean, I was a hell of a lot older whenever I went over, and I can only imagine what it's like for somebody in your shoes. And thank you all. I mean, thank you guys for what you did over there. You guys are, in my opinion, true heroes. And really, other than this channel, I want to make sure that your stories are told, and that's the exact reason why we're doing this, and that's the exact reason, because I don't think it's a hard perspective to try to get to understand what it is that we ask our young men and women to do. And in your case, you gentlemen, I mean, you guys, John, I think you were a little bit older, right? Were you a bit older, or were you just as young?
I was a little older. I was in my early 20s at that time.
Okay. I mean, hell, that's still young though. That's to do what you guys were asked to do over there. Hey, Top. So obviously you've been instrumental with helping out this channel, and as you know, this channel has a message. And it, obviously post divestment, and the divestment is not any easier on you gentlemen as it is us wearing the cloth currently. I mean, tanks. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's really a tough situation. Excuse me, tough situation that we're in. But I want to put out a message to the audience, especially some of those guys that may not have made the decision yet. What advice do you have, Top, for the community and for those junior Marines that are dealing with it?
I would say this. I mean, you was a Marine before you was a tanker. I mean, you chose that title of being a Marine before you was a tanker. I mean, you got blessed in two ways. It took one away from you. That still makes you a United States Marine. If I look at tanks this way, bitch just outgrew herself. This was inevitable. A lot of stuff forecasted this thing happening for as tanks getting phased out, but that doesn't mean that you're still not a Marine. You can still go other places and do other things, and you can take your God-given talents, if you have any, to somewhere else. You would help people, in whatever MOS. It don't matter. Yeah, I love tanks. I do. I got a freaking brand new Tank Commander freaking override handle in my garage right now. But that doesn't mean that I'm still not a Marine. If I got the option to go somewhere, if they told me you can either get out of the Marine Corps, go in another MOS, or go in the Army, I would choose to get out of the Marine Corps. Or if they said, okay, well, option number one's not good, I'd say, okay, I will go into another MOS other than LAVs and Amtrak's, but I will go Marine Corps somewhere. And they say, well, no, you got this. And they'd be like, no, no way, it ain't happening. I'm not joining another service. I joined the United States Marine Corps. I was blessed to be able to be a tanker. Now, you may have taken that away from me, but you're not going to take away from me being a Marine. So, difficult decision that young people have to make, because sometimes they don't get the best advice. Sometimes they get a lot of bad advice. Sometimes people get bad advice, and is what it is, but you're still a grown man, make your own decisions. You made a decision to be a Marine. My mom signed for me to be a Marine because I was 17 and she wanted to get me the fuck out of the house. And if it wouldn't have been for that, who knows where I would have been. But she did that when I was 17 years old. So either way, young kids nowadays have to make tough decisions. I know with this COVID shit going around, and whatever you want to call it, politics or whatever, I don't care. It doesn't matter. You still have, the responsibility as a American to make, proper decisions. If you don't, guess what? Shit happens. But at the same time, if you decide to be a United States Marine, if they take something away from you, that doesn't mean you're still not a United States Marine. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, that's where you'll die. That's where, it is.
John, how do you feel about it, buddy?
I mean, honestly, Top said it all. It's you went into this as a Marine, you come out of as a Marine, you lose the title as a tanker when you're out, but that's the end of it. You live, breathe, and die as a Marine the rest of your life. And these brothers that I went over there with, it's a shame I don't get to talk to them or see them enough, but that's what happens to life. Unfortunately, as we all know, tanks is no longer, unfortunately. And that's a sad part of it. It really is. That after everything we did and everything we proved that tanks were capable of, we're done. And you know, it almost adds a little bit of more pride to it when you say, yeah, I'm a Marine Corps tanker. And you know, it's like I'm completely obsolete now, but you have that title as a Marine Corps tanker that nobody else is getting anymore.
Chanda, your turn.
I feel like just honored, like honored to be part of, like, you know, the Marine Corps community, and especially honored to be a tanker. We're such a small community and so much exclusiveness that comes with that. It like everybody knows everybody. Like everybody went to, you know, we're just that so close knit. You know, we're to a point where, like, you know, no matter what they ever did to us, we stuck it through together. You know, phasing us out. You know, is it better for the Marine Corps, or if it's worse for the Marine Corps? Like, we don't know. Only time would tell that. But like, I always hold on to what we did when we were there, like what we were capable of. Like nobody can tell us otherwise that we're not essential. You know, nobody, you cannot change my mind that we were ever not essential. And you know, the fact that, you know, they got rid of the, you know, the battalions and phasing us out, it makes it even more exclusive. Like we were like, you know, we were the last line. We were it. Like that's something that it makes me more prideful to even be a part of that. And I can't even, you know, fathom like how much I'm grateful for that. Like meeting all my brothers there, like meeting Gunny, meeting Lieutenant Kingsmith, meeting Gant, you know, Trask, Freeland, Walls, Morgan, you know, Higgs, you know, Ortiz, you know, Whitfield, Howe, like those guys we were family. You know, Freeland, like we were just family. Lofton, we were just there, and we just lived. Like we lived, and we did the best that we could, and we like hopefully, you know, brought honor to Alpha Company. You know, I it sucks. There's good times, there's bad times. Like I lived through, you know, two worst things. That, you know, one good thing was, you know, Phantom Fury, and the bad thing was the Red One. Like, you know, I was there for both of them, and it was, you know, it was just one of those heartbreaking things, like where, like, it just stays with you, like the good, the bad, and I don't regret anything. You know, I don't regret throwing up when I first killed somebody, things like that, like just like stupid stories like that. Just throw up water and Skittles. First time I pulled that trigger. You know, it was just comical. Like Master Guns Herbert at the ammo dump. I was on top of the tank. Looks like I was about to pass out, and I just threw up everything.
Hey, I'm gonna interrupt him. That shit got me in trouble because here it was. Me and Diaz hadn't been asleep for like freaking 5 days. So you know, here's a perfect, and this was like no shit, like 3 days before SLU got cracked. So it was like a perfect instance of, hey, let me do some cross training. Little fellow's over here. He's been relaxing a little bit. So I'm like, Diaz, you and Sok, switch spots. So we're down in this freaking alleyway, and that's why I tell Sok, I'm like, hey, look, dude, I'm gonna be going this way with the 50 cal. You go this way with the 240. I said, if somebody comes across there, just crack them. So sure enough, some little dude freaking ran across the alley, nothing. So I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I couldn't get on target. I'm like, bullshit, watch. So sure enough, here comes the next guy. I'm like, look, there you go, dude. That's exactly how you do it. So here we go again. 5 seconds later, what happens? Another dude comes running across there. Here comes a little fella. Follow him right over there. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? You're letting these guys run across the alley, get in his house. So let me tell you what, if there's somebody that got really blue falcon, was this next guy that tried to come across this alley. They locked the fucking door on him.
Oh.
Sok was he was lit in on this alley, on this door, and this next guy, he tried to run across this alley. And when he hit that door, it was locked. Sok put about 200 rounds into this. So we ran out of ammo, so we have to go back and get ammo now, right? So we're driving back. Diaz is just now waking up. Freaking turrets full of FRH and freaking smoke and everything else. Got the hatch kicked up, and next thing you know, here's Sok. He's like, Gunny, you got a PX bag? I'm like, yeah, I've been to the fucking PX all day. Why the hell would I have a PX bag? What do you want? He's like, I gotta throw up. So here he is, getting ready to barf, right? So we get back to the ASP, throw him out of the freaking vehicle. He's laying over getting an IV. Here come freaking Master Guns Herbert. What the fuck were you doing to your guys? Look at Zoc. He's almost dead over there. Look at him. He's dehydrated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, probably because he fucking just barfed his guts up from shooting somebody. You think that's got anything to fucking do with it? So that was Zoc's initial gunnery right there. That was his first gunnery.
Yeah, true gunnery.
It was a good sight to see, just hunched over the hull, just throwing up into the ground. And then next thing you know, guns elevated. I'm lying down with Corman on top of the tank, just like putting an IV in me. I'm like, I'm good to go. Let's just ammo up. Let's go. Let's get back into the fight. People are dying. Let's go. Like, it was just one of those surreal moments. It was just like, oh, this is funny. This is stupid, but it's funny. It wasn't funny then because I felt like death. Like, just, I was already like sweating bricks. I was like 115 pounds, just lost about 10 pounds of water, throwing up. It was just, but the IV was ice cold and it hit the spot.
All right, so I gotta do the mandatory thank you to the audience. Obviously, they stuck around and obviously enjoyed the video and they've enjoyed the channel. So to all the subscribers, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. You guys are really the momentum that keeps this channel going. If you've not already done so, please do subscribe, because as we continue to grow, we gain momentum and more people hear about it. And stories like these that we just heard today get out there. Top Estep, thank you for today, not only just for today, but also for the work you've done previously, setting up some of the other interviews. So I appreciate that. Chanda, John, hey, it's been great, guys. I really, really, truly appreciate everyone making their time to come on here. Awesome stories, obviously very well put together. And I really appreciate it, because I know that obviously that time is both memorable, but it's also some tough times to talk about. So thank you for doing what you did and getting that out there. I think it's important that the audience hears, from tankers that were actually doing the work, what it is we went through. And you guys give a very good perspective. So I really do appreciate you guys taking the time. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over for final comments. Around the horn, anybody want to make comments?
I just want to thank you for having me on, and to all the tankers out there, past and present. Thank you for even having me. Thank you for letting me join your fraternity. Best job I've ever had. And just thank you. And just it's a sad time now, but just we'll always have Tank Battalion. Like, it might be gone. It might it might never be mentioned again, but we know exactly what we are. And nobody can ever take that away from us. And if that that will get me through the times we don't have it. And the military's change, war change. Somebody higher up made the call. We have no control over it, but it doesn't take away from anything. Everybody knew exactly what we're capable of, and we struck fear into a lot of people. You can just live with that.
Right.
Yeah.
John, you got it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead and say, thanks to you, JR, for making us a part of this. I mean, it's like I said before, it's a sad thing that after 100 years of Marine Corps tanks, it's coming to an end, but hopefully this all lives on, and so some people realizes what we went through, because I know a lot of us don't talk about it except to anybody but our brothers like you guys, and that I'm honored to be a part of it. So thank you.
Absolutely, John. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for making the time, buddy. Top.
Yeah.
Closing comments.
Oh yeah, shit. No, I just see, to me, like I said, the whole message with you in this channel. I got a face made for radio, so I don't really like getting down like this. But even when you first put the channel out, because a lot of times people when they do stuff like this, they do it, and it's like a fucking can't even say it, satisfaction satisfaction type thing. But no, that's not what this is about. And I wasn't a big fan of it, but then I got to watching it, got to seeing it, and I was like, hell yeah. And then the whole thing, like when you put out when you started getting people on here and I started looking at the people that you had on here, that was, to me, it's like, hey, we got to get different perspective from different people. You had old ass Master Guns, Cordero, old ass Master Guns, Herbert, yeah, great leaders by no means. But then you get the aspect of, what dumbass fire breathing corporal in combat, nobody, no leashes, whatever, just let him go. What's his aspect? And then that's why I thought it was important to get, well, it's supposed to be 4, but we only got 2. So 2 out of 4 ain't bad. I know that ain't a song, but 2 out of 4 ain't bad. That's when, get these young guys on here, get their take on it. It's just, everybody has their story to tell, like you said, but everybody also has an importance factor to it. If you don't think everybody's opinion is important, then you're full of shit. I think what you're doing here is great. And if there's anything that people think that they can't, one, add to this, they're wrong. They're wrong. Even if it's good, bad, or indifferent, that's what a lot of people think about when they go to leadership. Well, that guy sucked as a leader. Well, if he sucked, then you probably took something away from him that made you think that he sucked. So good and bad leadership is good at the same time. You take away, what it is you want to take away from it. Yeah. So people might take away whatever they want from this channel, but I think it's great.
Thanks, Top. I appreciate that. All right, gentlemen, with that, like I said before, I really do appreciate y'all making the time, Semperfi. And if you need anything, reach out. And if anyone wants to do an interview, reach out and feel free to use my point of contact. Nothing's private. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us, and thank you.
Right.
Semperfi.